Welcome along, everybody, as One Up heads out west to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for round number 3 of the Superstar Series season for 2026 at Las Vegas. It's such a great place to have a race. We raced here not that long ago, actually. It was the third to last race of 2025. It's the third race overall in 2026, so a lot of teams have some good notes to build off of over the course of 81 laps this afternoon. And alongside me in the booth to bring you all the action for today's race is Jesse Turner, back with us once again. Great to have you with us. This is going to be a race, I imagine, of comers and goers because it's a long day, 81 laps at Las Vegas with a pit stop to boot in the middle somewhere. It's going to be very interesting to see who can adapt the best to the conditions and who might fall back in the early stages.
Right, you are, but yeah, pumped to be here out west as we begin our West Coast swing, if you will, for the Superstar Series. Good to be, for us to be visiting such a variety of tracks early on, but two fantastic rounds 1 and 2. The season's gone out to a very entertaining start with Jake McMillan picking up the 500 win, and also Kail Tescar Jr.'s great win back at Rockingham. So this will be a whole new atmosphere. We got a fast mile and a half. The speeds are bound to be high. The stakes are going to be high too, and with Las Vegas having the reputation of being a gambling capital of the U.S., there's going to be lots of cars and teams that are going to be doing a lot of dice rolling during this race too. As to what forms we'll see, we'll just have to wait and find out.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Las Vegas usually is quite the fun event for the One Up Superstar cars, and we've got a bit of a jumbled up grid here to start this one off, as we can now bring you the starting lineup for today's 81 laps of action. Ryan Griffin gets pole position for this one. He's had a rough start to the season, not yet finishing he had a good, solid enough day at Rockingham, but man, Daytona really put him into a hole. He's looking to bounce back from that with pole position here today, and Emma Kruger lines up alongside him in the 70. She's had an even worse start to the year, outside the top 30 in points, as is her teammate Sam Donato, who starts right behind her in 4th, but on that second car on the inside line, that's who I'm going to be keeping my eye on today. Stephen Hunter for the Stormbreak Motorsports team. He's a former series champion. He won our first championship all the way back in 2020. He qualified that car incredibly well. We'll see if he can hang on to that position over the course of the entire 81 laps here today.
Of course, and I like I mentioned, the winner of the first 2 races, McMillan and Tescar. I mean, who's to say that neither of them can go 2 for 3 to start the season? So I'll keep my eye on the 42 and the 51, but still lots of desperate contenders who didn't have ideal starts to the season. They're looking at this race today to get some redemption.
And toss in the 2 Fitzwater Australia cars. Zachary Fitzwater, Brian Grigsby starting 5th and 7th. Those 2 are going to be worth a watch as well to see if they can hang on over the course of the entire race distance. But with that being said, we've got 42 drivers ready to rock and roll at Las Vegas. We're ready to bring you to the action right now. It's the One Up Superstar, race number 3 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Green flag getting set to come at you live in just a short while here. Getting set for the green flag here at Las Vegas, Ryan Griffin, Emma Kruger on row 1, leading us to the start-finish line, which is coming up at a rapid rate. The green flag is out, and Ryan Griffin gets an excellent launch off the line. He's already clear of Emma Kruger by a couple car lengths as the field streams off into turn 1. I see Stephen Gale back there trying to make it 3 wide, but for now, the O2's got the best seat in the house. He's already got a big lead.
Of course, that slump you mentioned that Ryan Griffin was in, he definitely wants to shake it. And what better place to do it than here at Las Vegas, round number 3. Sam Donato looking a little bit antsy right there in the SeaWorld ride, but not able to hang the bottom of turn number 4 as well. He's got Zayden Davidson in the Valvoline colors up to his top side. The 31 is Stephen Hunter. He's also up in the top 5. He may challenge Emma Kruger for that spot. No, looks like Hunter's going to be content to remain in 3rd, but Davidson up to 4th. Donato behind him, but you see the O2 is just pulling away from these guys. That's what he wants.
He already built a half-second lead on the opening lap. That is fantastic news for Ryan Griffin. The first side-by-side battle now is Donato with Kail Tescar Jr. back in his regular Harley-Davidson colors this week, trying to build the momentum off his big win at Rockingham. He now moves himself up into the top 5 for the first time today after starting this race down in 8th. But Donato trying to fend off as many as he can, trying to hold off Zachary DeLello on the outside, as Davidson now works underneath Stephen Hunter the 3rd. He's got a bunch of Revolution cars ganging up on him now.
And that is a very Very reputable team that is up here in the top 5. They had a great run at Rockingham as well with the Tescar, getting the big capitalization on that moment. You also see, looks like Zachary DeLello up here, the 21 of Devin Fair, running really good, and then the Fitzwater cars of the 59, and as well as the 9 of Grigsby and Fitzwater. They're both on the top 10, just running really reputably. But now the 77, he's up on the outside, taking the way outside line. Not a whole lot of grip is up there, but props to Denoda for trying to find some.
And going back to what I was saying about Stephen Hunter, he actually used to drive for Revolution Racing in the car that's currently chasing him, the 51, now driven by Tescar, as is Devin Fair, a former 51 driver himself. So we've got a lot of either current or former Revolution Racing drivers up at the front. Meanwhile, just outside the top 10, Miles Mashburn, Jake McMillan, these two had an epic battle at Daytona, didn't they? Now they battle for 11th spot with Lane Sanders on the outside helping the 72, Christian Vargas in the other Revolution Racing car pushing the 42 along.
Pretty much the dead same fashion that the 72 and the 42 were in at Daytona. They still remain side by side, but yeah, a fantastic finish between McMillan and Mashburn to give the fans an entertainer over at Daytona. But yeah, multiple side by side positions battling in the top 5. Kruger versus Davidson for P2, Hunter versus Tescar for P4, and then Zachary DeLello and Sam Denoda, they've also joined the fray. But you also got the 21 of Devin Fair also looking to make a capitalize right here. Just watching all these guys battle it up.
And I gotta say, this is an excellent run from Stephen Hunter. I know he lost a position to Zayden Davidson earlier, but this is Stormbreak Motorsports' best performance of the season so far, and they really need it. All 3 of their cars currently outside the top 30 in points. They need to get a move on if they're going to jump into the top 30 before the end of race 5. That's the cutoff point where we start locking in people based on this year's owners' points. So Stormbreak doing an excellent job right now of putting Stephen Hunter in the position he needs, especially considering he missed Daytona to start the year off.
Yeah, great point for the Stormbreak team. Them tabbing Stephen Hunter along. He's a proven driver. He's got the resume to show that he's one of the all-time greats, but they'll definitely look to his leadership in a way for Bobo Jones and also James Ellison to follow in a sense. But unfortunately for Bobo and James, they didn't really have as hot qualifying efforts as the 31 did. So maybe as the day goes on, those two drivers can improve right here. As we got Zachary DeLello in the 08. I mean, he's been showing speed many races here this early part of the season. It's all about trying to capitalize, and DeLello can maybe get that win one of these days, as Kruger's still able to hold off Davidson in the 4.
And remember, Zachary DeLello got his maiden win back at race 2 of 2025, back when that was in St. Louis at Worldwide Technology Raceway. I'm sure he's looking forward to going back there now that it's a part of the chase this year. But for right now, he is I think he's one of the fastest cars on the track. He's just worked to the outside of Tescar for the 5th position. I think he's already clear of the 51. So great stuff from the third-year driver, Zachary DeLello, trying to make a move now on Stephen Hunter. That is for 4th spot.
Now the rest of the top 10 is singled out, and you see the 02 is just becoming a dot over there in the distance. He's already over a second and a half ahead of Emma Kruger. And the 70 and the 4 cars, they better figure out who's going to take second, who's going to take third, because the longer they work against each other, that 02 of Griffin is just, going to keep on sailing off into the Las Vegas sunset. And already 11 laps in, Griffin is just being extra thankful that these guys are being really racy with each other. So they get these guys in the pack. They got to have some sort of a union in a way to maybe run down that 0-2, as it's now 2 seconds that Griffin is up with the lead.
Absolutely. He is just driving away with this one in the very early stages. Of course, we still have a lot of racing to go here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but it always helps, doesn't it, to have as big a lead as Ryan Griffin has right now. He's got an advantage of just over 2 seconds. Emma Kruger has settled herself into second, but I honestly think the likes of Davidson and DeLello are just that little bit faster than the 70. I genuinely think she might be holding these guys up a bit. We'll see if they are able to make something happen. And we're gonna see, that's something we're gonna see a lot today, is when a car coming out of turn 2 gets right up against the back of the car in front. They have to burp the gas a little bit to prevent from running them over, and it's going to cost them a lot of momentum down the straightaway.
Definitely don't want that to happen either at the exit of 2 or the exit of 4. But now here we see the 21 getting some assistance from the 500 winner, Jake McMillan, past Brian Grigsby.
Oh, hitting her up. We got one blowing up. We got one blowing up, and it's Logan Williams who hits the inside wall, goes for a slide down onto the apron. I'm curious to see if that's got to be a caution for sure. We don't have one yet for Williams, and he gets a help back to the pit lane, so I think we're going to stay green through all that. Incredible, really, considering the amount of smoke in the spinning car of the 8. But Logan Williams will be our first retirement of the day, and that is an absolute shame, because that's now 3 races in a row that he has had a rough go of things.
Especially after ending up on his roof in the Daytona 500. And yeah, just 3 straight races, definitely not what him and that number 18 are striving for. But Griffin's thankful that the officials never threw the yellow flag for that, as he's got over 2.5 seconds. That 02 car is just on a roller coaster around this 1.5-mile speedway, as it's, Kruger, DeLello, Davidson, Hunter, and they're just struggling to figure things out here. But props to that 02 team for the Finn Guy team to set that car as well as they did. Tough for Williams, though, seeing him out.
And keep in mind as well, these guys got to be worried if the 8 car dropped any fluid on the racetrack, if there's any debris from him hitting the wall, if that gets blown onto the racetrack at some point today, that could be a caution later. But so far, everybody's keeping their manners about them. Williams, they're trying to diagnose what exactly was wrong with that 8 car. I don't expect them to come back out, though, with all that smoke we saw. But here's some teammates working together. Devin Fair in the 21, Jake McMillan in the 42, doing what they need to do. They're currently running 8th and 9th. Fair looking to extend his top 10 streak to start the season to 3.
And I did see, as they came off the turn 2 that time, that burping of the throttle you talked about. Many of those guys did do that. So, yeah, we'll have to see more of that as the day goes on. But now a new second-place race driver, DeLello, is able to get on by Kruger. Davidson trying to look to follow the 08, and now Kruger's trapped up on the high side. Down the back straightaway, yeah, looks like she's going to just slide back down to 4th. So maybe that 08 and the 4, now that they got the 70 behind them, maybe they finally can maybe put their plan in place to maybe reel down that 02, but it's going to take plenty of work.
Especially considering that gap between Ryan Griffin and Zachary DeLello is 3.1 seconds, which is an eternity in the 1UP Superstar Series. We don't often get gaps that big here, but when they do, it usually means that the driver who's built that gap has a really fast car under him. And Ryan Griffin's got exactly that. This is, I believe, the most laps he has ever led in a 1UP Superstar Series event. So kudos to him for finding the hot setup on that car, as we can now confirm Logan Williams out of the race. Small consolation for him that we're heading to Atlanta next week, a track where we know he can perform. But Ryan Griffin, the gaps come down a little bit, though. DeLello took 2/10 out of him on that previous lap.
So we see that 08 definitely has speed. I mean, like I mentioned how DeLello, he's shown, plenty of just raw speed in that 08 team. Even in the shootout on the Daytona Beach course, he had a stellar run on the beach, and just making sure that his name was within the conversation all day long as he shaves off another 2/10. Excellent work. So now this pack realizes that 08 is meant to be the lead car, so it's best that they let DeLello be the Pied Piper among them all for them to follow.
Further back in the field, we see Zachary Fitzwater tumbling down the order just a little bit. He started this race up in the top 5, but I don't think he's got a better. I think he had a better qualifying car than a race car today. He's already fallen outside the top 10. But here's the battle for 10th spot between Christian Vargas and Brian Grigsby. This 9 car had a very adventurous day at Rockingham, sliding through the grass and whatnot. But this is a really strong run for the 9. We kind of expected him to have a few good runs this season. He was fastest in one of our preseason tests. So Grigsby very much unlocking the potential he has in this 9 car. I would expect him to be a solid contender at least a couple of times this year.
Yeah, Grigsby just in recovery mode on that outside as he's got Christian Vargas to his inside in the 54. That McDonald's also there in the 16. But at least, Grigsby's showing a good top 15 run Sucks that Fitzwater's, falling back through the field. But yep, the 72 and Mashburn burp the gas. That allows the 9 to get a little bit of breathing room. We also see the 00. I believe Julio Cesar also showing his face in the top 15. Now we're taking a look at Stephen Hunter with Devin Fair and Sam Donato side by side with each other right there. And I am seeing that margin between the 02 and the 08. It keeps getting shaved down ever so slightly. It's now down to 2.4 seconds.
One minor correction to make. Ben McDonald drives the number 12 Chevrolet Camaro in the Superstar Series. You were looking at Henry Thomas, his teammate, who was challenging Mashburn and Grigsby for that position further back. But back at the front of the field, we see Stephen Hunter starting to lose a bit of ground. Kail Tescar Jr. has gotten past Emma Kruger before, but Hunter's now fallen out of the top 5 for the first time today. But for Stephen Hunter, if your worst running position in the first quarter of this race is 6th, I'd say that's a pretty solid day.
Yep. And that was the 16 of Henry Thomas. Again, the teammates right there for that team. And now we see the 42 of McMillan trying to go underneath the 21 of Devin Fair. You see Christian Vargas and Brian Grigsby waiting in the wings. But just this pack showing a lot of behavior. Good behavior right here. Everyone's being mindful of where everyone is, aside from the 8 of Logan Williams having his issues and hitting the wall. Everybody's been able to stay clean and green, which is great to see. Looks like we're already more than a quarter of the way through this race. And now here's Stephen Hunter looking to maybe get a position right there, but no, just trying to get some clean air. But now it's single file, all basically from through the top 15 at least.
Yeah, the first side-by-side battle looks to be back with Angel Gutierrez making his Superstar debut just inside the top 20. Strong run for him in his first attempt in the big cars. But back at the front, you see Kail Tescar Jr. He's cleared Emma Kruger for 4th spot, and ever since he did that, he's starting to pull away from the 70 and pull just that little bit closer to his teammate Zayden Davidson, who's currently battling Delela for the 2nd position. There they are at the bottom of your screen there. If Tescar can get up and challenge those two for 2nd, I think this car could be a real challenger for Ryan Griffin, especially if we get the field bunched up together again.
Yep, and that 0-2 Griffin definitely wishes that the field doesn't do that. he just wants to keep living life on easy mode right now. I mean, of course, when you're a driver like him who's got that big of a lead and you're happy with your car, I mean, you can't ask for anything more as a driver. As we saw those drivers further back in the field, I think that was Ryan Reed, William Brock amongst those two, along with Roberto Crown Jr., as they're not having ideal days. But now we got some side-by-side happening in the Battle of the Pack again for a 6th place. Donatos trying to hold these guys off.
He actually just got past Stephen Hunter in their fight for 6. Now Devin Fair clears Hunter as well, so Hunter in one corner loses 2 spots. I think the long-run pace of this 31 still leaves a little bit to be desired, as he's trying now to hold off Jake McMillan and Christian Vargas. But running in the top 10 as long as he has, that gives Stormbreak Motorsports just that little bit of optimism that maybe Atlanta or Hillside in the next few races will go their way. But now you see McMillan dive to the inside of Hunter for the 8th position on the racetrack, and he is going to make that pass look almost as easy as you could possibly hope for here at Las Vegas. Trying to get that side draft down the back straightaway, going into turn 3. See Henry Thomas back there as well, taking a look to the inside of Grigsby. Miles Mashburn trying to push the 16 it through as well.
And the 42 is going to get on by Stephen Hunter. So yeah, Hunter, I mean, you mentioned at the pre-race there's going to be comers and goers here in this field. And the comers through the field is definitely Zachary DeLello, Zayden Davidson, Kail Tescar Jr. But now it appears that the goers are starting to show the longer this green flag run happens, and Stephen Hunter appears to be one of them in that 31 machine. We saw Zachary Fitzwater, who qualified in the top 5. He's already drifted way back into the field. He's definitely gone fishing. And now the 21, Devin Fair trying to get by the 77. Jake McMillan looking to follow right here, as they're all trying to get, looks like 5th place from Emma Kruger. So, I mean, for the 70, she's been able to stay within the top 5. So she still has a strong car, but not as strong as the top 3 ahead of her.
Yeah, it's 2 Game Breaker Racing Toyotas versus 2 JHM Racing Hondas in the battle from 5th down to 8th rather. As Ryan Griffin's pretty much kept his gap fairly consistent at about 2.5 seconds now. Yeah, DeLello is no longer gaining on him at the rate we saw him do earlier. But here's Devin Fair now taking a look to the inside of Emma Kruger once again. I think this 21 is another one of those comers that we were talking about earlier. He started this race down in 12th. He's already made his way up into the top 5. If he can get a shot at the top 4, this is another car, I feel, that's leaps and bounds ahead of where it was last year. Of course, with a different driver behind the wheel then. But Devin Fair has I feel like he has brought so much to this JHM racing team that they are going to be contenders all season long.
And I saw right there as a test car is trying to run up to the back end of his teammate, I believe, Zayden Davidson. We also saw Jake McMillan, just out of the camera shot, start to make a move within the top 5 to the inside of Donato and Kruger. So once we pan back to the battle for 6, that should be interesting to watch. Excuse me. But now we got the 4, the 51, the Revolution Racing cars. Gonna run down the 08, but so far everybody's just stabilized.
Yeah, and so far it's been a pretty calm race, has to be said. I know we had the issue with the 8 car earlier, but we haven't really had any other real issues since then. So it's very curious to see if this race stays green long enough, if Ryan Griffin catches the back end of the field, if he has any trouble getting around them, as it looks like the caution lights I see were on in 3 and 4. We've got a caution out for the first time today on lap number 36. This is really going to bunch the field back up. Not what Ryan Griffin wanted to see by any means.
Wonder who it could be from as to what causes this first yellow flag of the day, but now that's going to erase the big gap that Griffin had over Zachary DeLello. Doesn't show to be any apparent car in trouble. It might just be a debris caution. We'll have to get a confirmation from the officials later on for that.
I was going to say, what this also does is it gives everybody the opportunity to come down pit road here, make it to the end of the race without having to stop again. So kind of a lucky break for Ryan Griffin in a way that he can control the field on pit road, but he does have his lead erased. As we get confirmation from the officials that it was some debris from turn 1 that was blown onto the track. It's very gusty here at Las Vegas, and some of the debris from Logan Williams' accident got blown up onto the racing surface. That is what brought this caution out.
And now these pit crews can get to work here on lap 37, and everyone can hit the reset button. These drivers can get a little bit of time to breathe here, and now it's the pit crew's turn to do their jobs. An ideal 4-tire pit stop along with a full tank of fuel. Pretty much be all you need to get your car places. And once they finish up their stops, we'll see who prevails the best on pit road as DeLello pulls away already.
Yeah, it's going to be tight. I think Ryan Griffin just beat him to the white line, though. That is what determines the order off of pit road. DeLello beat Griffin to turn 1, but the officials are going to take a look and just double check to make sure who was actually the first one out onto the racetrack after the pit stops. But it's going to be one of those two. Looking back at Angel Gutierrez there in the 66, making his debut today. As, yeah, we're looking. It had to have been that debris down in the middle of 1 and 2, because I don't see any other cars with damage here.
And now Griffin is going to be allowed his spot back by the officials. So yeah, the challenge still remains for the field to dethrone that 02 car from the lead. But yeah, Griffin still trying to keep it perfect, winning the pole. And I believe he's led every single one of the 37 laps so far. So that's another mission of his, to be 100%.
And he's looking for that, of course, for that first career win in the Superstar Series, which is something he's wanted for quite some time now. And this is as good a time as any for him to get it. He loves these 1.5-mile racetracks where you can run multiple lines, fan the car out, really push its limits. And Las Vegas is certainly one of those tracks on the schedule. Ryan Griffin, of course, leading the way in the Ally machine. Zachary DeLello running in second spot. And I think if there's anyone that's going to challenge Ryan Griffin for this race win, I think it's the car directly behind him. That Ryzen machine is powerful today.
And don't ever count out these other top 10 contenders as well. That 66 car, there's Angel Gutierrez, the series debutant. And he's running behind Patrick Smith and ahead of Stephen Hunter. So he's around some pretty reputable company in that 66 machine. So Hunter didn't really have too good of a pit stop, it seems. So Hunter, he'll have a bigger hill to climb right there. You also got Patrick Smith lurking. But yeah, just any one of these guys, as long as their crews made the right adjustments and, they don't fight with each other too much, they might have something for the O2. But that Thin Guy Motorsports team, they better have been on point with setting up that O2 car as well, making sure that it adapts with the changes of the track.
One last note on Angel Gutierrez. He actually is driving that 66 car for Robbers Racing, which has had a very strong start to the season, despite it not running the full season with one driver. Eric DeMax, of course, at the Daytona 500, finished 9th in that car. Last week at Rockingham, Paul Villalobos finished 11th. So let's see what Gutierrez can do in his turn. He'll of course, be back behind the wheel of that car next week at Atlanta, so he'll be the first driver to get 2 starts in that car. As the lights go out on the safety car, we will be going back racing on lap 40, right at about half race distance.
Now we're taking a look at other cars that are mired back in the pack, just wanting for this day to be over. You see a couple of the Storm Break cars, Ellison, Bobo Jones. I see Ryan Casciano, Stephen Gale, Zachary Fitzwater. Many of these guys that fell back in the early part of the race, definitely looking to get some recovery underneath them, as well as cars like Ryan Reed, William Brock, Duke Antsack as well. You can throw him in there as well. They're gonna hope to rely on others having trouble for them to have better days. We're a half lap from taking the green, and Ryan Griffin's still gonna show the way.
And shout out as well, we saw one of those cars we saw back there, Jeff Bolton, making his first start of the season in the 38, having a solid enough day, running right around the top 25 or 30, which I know doesn't mean a lot to the layman race fan, but for Jeff Bolton, that is huge. It's his first start of the year, and he could leapfrog a few people in the points that way.
That's right, pace cars down off of turn number 4. Fans get to their feet once again. Ryan Griffin, he's been perfect. Like I mentioned, wanting to maintain that perfection as we are just shy of the halfway point here, Las Vegas. They get up to speed. Away we go again.
And another strong launch off the line from Ryan Griffin. He is already clear of DeLello by a car length or 2 as they send it off now into turn 1. This is going to be really interesting to see if DeLello can keep the O2 honest this run compared to last.
Kail Tescar Jr., Christian Vargas, that's 3 of the Revolution cars I see up here in the top 10.
And so a former Revolution driver in Fair as well.
That's right, yeah, Devin Fair. But those 3 Toyotas still on point here this afternoon, trying to take over that 4th position from Fair. Emma Kruger trying to be bold and advance her way up here in the top 10. But Vargas in the 54, who started outside the top 10 as well in 15th. Here he is making some noise. But now DeLello, he's able to maintain that closer of a gap behind the O2. So good for him. Maybe he and Davidson can work something together.
And I got a feel for Devin Fair in this situation. I know he's running in 4th, but he's surrounded by all his old teammates from last year. Back when 2025, when Revolution Racing was a 4-car team, Devin Fair drove for them. He was teammates with Davidson, with Vargas, and Tescar. They're all still running together, but Devin has, of course, moved on to two other ventures with JHM Racing. And here's a new face we haven't seen yet in the top 10 today, Henry Thomas in the 16. He started this race down in 21st place, actually, and he's fought his way up to 8th.
Magnificent comeback for that 16 of Henry Thomas. I also see the 00 Julio Cesar wanting to break into the top 10, but how about DeLello in the 08?
Ooh,
closing in. Oh, he just had to he just had to lift off of the gas, but wow, that 08's got something. I mean, we're watching this happen. That 08, as well as the Ford Davidson, they may have something for Griffin after all. Griffin may not be so invincible.
Yeah, and we've seen that little hiccup on the throttle out of 2. We've seen that all weekend long in the trucks and the nitro cars and in this race so far. But Zachary DeLello is very hungry for his 2nd career win. Ryan Griffin, of course, looking for his 1st career win. Zayden Davidson, likewise, looking for his 2nd career win, especially after the 4-car went winless last year, which is a bit unheard of for a Revolution Racing team of that caliber. But we'll see what Davidson can do. His last win came at Hanford Motor Speedway in 2024. Wouldn't he love to get back to victory lane? As DeLello dives it down the inside of Ryan Griffin for the lead. We'll see if that works here. Group 1 and 2 just doesn't quite have the momentum to make it stick.
Excellent effort by DeLello, making an attempt for the lead. But hey, I mean, he's able to put the runs out of turn number 2 like that to challenge him. But now Zayden Davidson, he senses a little bit of weakness in that 08, so maybe he'll try and get after Ryan Griffin ahead of him. And now this is back where, you know, we were at the start of this race. You know, that 02, he was able to get such a big advantage from these guys going side by side for many, many laps. But now DeLello, he's been able to get back up in the second. Davidson's on the danger of losing spots. Devin Fair and Christian Vargas also looking to overtake him.
Yeah, and Devin Fair, he's got to be keeping an eye on his driver out ahead of him. Remember, Zachary DeLello drives for the team Devin Fair owns, so Fair's got to has another little job to do. He's got to try and get his cars in a position to challenge Ryan Griffin up the road. But I have a feeling Devin Fair's already got a little bit of satisfaction knowing that he jumped ship from Revolution Racing to JHM over the offseason, and now he's looking at all 3 Revolution cars in his mirrors.
Definitely a newfound sense of pride for Devin Fair in the 21, just making himself familiar with more equipment as there's a slower car that these leaders are approaching. That's the 25 of Chastain.
Yeah, Francois Chastain, I think he just came off pit road, as a matter of fact. I saw his lap times are really off. I think he had something mechanical under the hood of that Intel for New England Cruisers Racing that they had to diagnose. He is back on the racetrack, albeit he is about to go to a second or third lap down to Ryan Griffin, Zachary DeLello, and the rest of the gang out in the front. But yeah, Francois Chastain, he's had an innocuous start to this season. He has kept himself out of trouble most of the time, and he's doing fairly solidly in points considering this is only his 3rd career start in this series. But mechanical woes take the 25 out of the mix now.
We'll need to see how fast or slow he's running compared to the 02 and the rest of the leaders. We're coming up on lap 50 now, so might be sooner than later that they may run up on the 25. He may have some engine woes underneath that car. But now DeLello and Fair, they may see that as a chance to maybe get by the 02 if the 02 isn't able to get around the 25 as well as he should. But DeLello's keeping easy touch with him as Chastain's pulling to the apron.
Yeah, he's coming back to pit road. A bad day gets worse for Francois Chastain. It was a cooling system issue on the 25 that triggered his initial trip down pit road. We're now hearing that the 25 car has lost a cylinder on that machine, so he will be off pace for the remainder of the day. They're going to try and see what they can do to keep him out there in case we get more attrition later. But Ryan Griffin doing his best to hold off Zachary DeLello, and so far he is doing a pretty good job of it.
Now it's just the top 6. Griffin, DeLello, Thayer, Davidson, Vargas, and Kail Tescar Jr. They've all pulled away at least over a second over Henry Thomas, along with Kruger, McMillan, and Denoto. Now here's Devin Fair. He figures DeLello had his shot for the lead. Now Fair thinks it's going to be his turn now, but that 08 using the top side of the track. There is more grip up there now compared to the race start. So at least there's more lines that these guys can use to maybe run up on Ryan Griffin. You also see the 54, Vargas, also trying to make some noise up in the top 5. You see the gap that they have over 7th place Henry Thomas.
And you got to think this, you mentioned it a little bit a moment ago, this is a little bit of pride as you see Chastain exit the pits once again. He is going to be off pace for the remainder of the day, but at least he's back out there 4 laps down. But like we said earlier, a bit of pride for Devin Fair, seeing all of his former teammates running behind him at the moment. That's got to feel pretty good for Devin Fair. He's got to think that he might have done the right thing. He's one of only 2 drivers so far this season to have top 10s in both races, Miles Mashburn being the other. And with the 72 not having featured in the top 10 yet today, I have a feeling Devin Fair will be the one driver carrying that streak onto Atlanta.
Yeah, it would be cool if the 21 were able to keep that up right here. So far, he's doing his job. And again, you just can't, deny just how great that 02 car is handling Ryan Griffin. And thankfully, aside from the 25 of Francois Chastain, there is no, lapped cars within the vicinity of these leaders. So thankfully, that's something that Griffin can fall back on. He's got a clear racetrack ahead of him. And that's something that his spotter is emphasizing greatly to him. Just focus on what's ahead of you, not behind you. Even though the 08 and the 21 are posing a little bit of a threat right here, Griffin's team is just telling him to maintain focus. That's the most important thing.
And especially considering we only have about 25 laps of racing left to go here. We're coming to about, I think, 26 to go at the line right there. But for Ryan Griffin, you're right. He's just got to keep his eyes on the prize out front. He knows that there's two powerful Hondas right behind him of DeLello and Fair, but his job isn't to worry about what their races are like. His job is to go win races for himself, and he has led all 55 laps of this race so far, on track at this moment to get the first flag-to-flag win of the season.
Will be pretty sweet. I know that's definitely a rare occasion for that to happen here in the One-Up Superstar Series. We'll just have to find out how his other teammate Jeffrey Finguy is faring. We did see him battling with inside the top 15, but yeah, Finguy, definitely the car that's not doing so hot compared to the 02. But Christian Vargas, he got by the 4 of Davidson, so now it's him leading the Revolution Racing trio in positions 4, 5, and 6. And I do see the 16 of Henry Thomas. He's been able to work his way up to the top 6. Ever so slightly, but now so it could be a 7-horse race for this race win, if these guys just, draft with each other and, just stay solid.
And meanwhile, a new face in the top 10, that Mountain Dew Dodge of Julio Cesar has found his way up towards the front end of the field. He started this race down in 19th, so a very strong day from the Brazilian Miles Mashburn. Here's Jeffrey Finguy and their other teammate Patrick Smith doing battle just inside the top 15 with Lane Sanders and Ryan Grigsby. But overall, it's a bit of an off day for the Finguy Saitomi team, aside from, of course, the man who's dominated this race from the very start, Ryan Griffin.
Yeah, real cool battles right there within the top 10. But now this is the one that matters most, the one that we got to focus on. Again, DeLello and that Wiesen-sponsored Honda. I mean, he's been following in the tire tracks of Ryan Griffin, ever since the restart. And he's got a better idea of where that 02 is strong at and where he's weak at. He's trying to hang with him through turn number 2. Hopefully he doesn't have to burp the gas. And thankfully he doesn't do it that time.
But so far, yeah, Zachary DeLello's he's keeping the 02 honest, which I think we hadn't really seen on that first run up until now. But now that after that caution and ever since the restart, this 08 has not been very far away from Ryan Griffin's back bumper. The 02's been unable to pull away like he did in the first run, so I genuinely think that Ryan Griffin, of course, he's looking for his first career superstar win. Zachary DeLello looking for his second. Devin Fair, of course, looking for career win number 14 in this race. Christian Vargas, likewise, up in the teens as well. But if anyone's going to challenge Ryan Griffin to take that first career win away from him, I think Zachary DeLello is the guy to do it.
And there's the 25 again, Francois Chastain, but thankfully he's just about halfway down the back straightaway. We are at 20 laps to go now here at LVMS. And we got Julio Cesar getting assistance from Miles Mashburn, as you see. Jake McMillan, Emma Kruger, they're also battling. But with the 42 and the 70 being side by side, that did allow Henry Thomas to pull away from this group. You also see Angel Gutierrez up in the top 20 again. Eric DeMax and Paul Villalobos, in rounds 1 and 2, they've gotten great debuts on that 66 ride. So Gutierrez already in P18 looking to maybe replicate that and get another strong run. Now we're looking at Ben McDonald in the 12 just outside the top 20, as well as other guys running back here.
Yeah, it's a little surprising to see McDonald this far back in the field. He qualified 18th, but I was expecting him to climb through the field, and he hasn't really done that today. So I'm sure he'll be hoping for better at Atlanta next time out. As you see Francois Chastain bringing up the rear, he is certainly at least a second off the pace per lap, considering he is down a cylinder on that car. But closing in quickly on 15 laps to go, Zachary DeLello keeping this 02 car as honest as he possibly can. Down the backstretch they go, and DeLello, he's got to be sick of seeing this purple bumper right in front of him. I think he really wants to get past, but he just needs to build enough momentum to make it stick, and he might need his teammates' help to do that.
And that Finguy Saitomi machine just flawless up in the front, but like at a track like this, a 1.5-mile speedway, Ryan Griffin has the one thing that a lot of guys wish they had, and that is squeaky clean air. Just at the front of that for the Griffin's driving, like that's what he has. And everything else behind that O2 is dirty air, and that's what DeLello, Fair, Vargas, Davidson, and all these other drivers are facing. So they know aerodynamically getting clean air is the key. Once you steal that away from the O2 car, then it's yours to lose at that point, and that's DeLello's mission. It's a matter of him getting enough of a run to get by the O2, and that clean air can be his at last.
The thing is, with DeLello, the gap is under a tenth of a second between. Oh, but there's another let off of the gas right there. We see that all race long, all weekend long. Drivers tuck up right behind the guy they're chasing, but they just have to let off the gas on exit of 2. We don't see it as much out of 4 for whatever reason, but it's been the Achilles heel of so many drivers this weekend, and for Zachary DeLello, it could be his today.
But never say never. It is 15 laps to go right here. Lap 67, Christian Vargas trying a different line to maybe get to the inside of 21 at Devin Fair. But now, thanks to that loss of momentum for the 08, it's now having to force him to regroup and just get that distance back that he had with Ryan Griffin. You can't help but wonder how soon they are going to catch that 25 of Chastain, who's off the pace and just ailing all day. We got other drivers running back here. We got Joshua Michaels, the 20 of Keon Daly, the 66 of Angel Gutierrez. I believe Echo Evans Ross I also saw. But here's Stephen Hunter, who was running up in the top 5 earlier today. I mean, that 31 machine's just fallen off after pit stop. So that's unfortunate for that team.
And I did want to make mention while we were looking at him, Jensen Nomina in the 62. He had a very strong run in his first start of the season at Rockingham last week, finishing 3rd. He's doing another solid job here today in the top 20. Another run like that, and it could get him close to the top 15 in points, despite him missing the Daytona 500 to start the season. So very strong runs from the 62. We'll see if that continues at Atlanta next time out. But we're rapidly approaching 10 to go, and we've got 6 cars still under a blanket within a second of the lead, trying to duke it out here.
And they are starting to get that 16 of Henry Thomas. Thomas is about 2 seconds back. We'll have to see what it updates there. Yeah, the O2 is pulled the gap on the 16 just a little bit, so Thomas starting to lose ground a little bit, excuse me. But all 3 of the Revolution Toyotas got a shot at it. There's Jake McMillan in 8th, and also Sam Donado and Julio Cesar. They have officially kicked Emma Kruger out of the top 10. I actually don't see the 70 car at all.
There she is in the 70, right back behind Gutierrez. Her car, I think, has just lost the handle in the late stages of the race, and we'll see how far back she drifts by the end of this thing. The outside pole sitter, of course, Emma Kruger. But we're coming to 10 laps to go this time, and they're only about half a straightaway ahead of Francois Chastain, or behind Francois Chastain. I think they're going to catch him probably within the next lap or 2, and depending on where and how they catch him, that could really influence the outcome of this race.
It's going to get spicy here, ladies and gentlemen. 10 laps to go now, and the O2 is right, closing rapidly on the rear end of Francois Chastain. Where's he going to go with this run?
And remember, this New England Cruisers team getting some help from Fingai Saitomi this year. Fingai Saitomi, of course, the reason this 25 car is locked into the first 5 races of the season. And I think that showed with Chastain respectfully trying to get out of the way of the leaders. But, of course, I think Chastain's got the edge in the corners, but on the straightaways, he's just a sitting duck, and that's going to allow everybody to get past him cleanly here. But I think Chastain was trying to do Ryan Griffin a favor there as thanks for getting him into the show.
Yeah, real good for Chastain to be courteous, show these leaders courtesy, and just to let them battle it out. He knows the win is important to them in his first voyage here in the Superstar Series. Now he's going to let the 4 and the 51 go by. Well, not without some difficulty. Now we see these guys back here, Miles Mashburn and Lane Sanders also up here in the top 15. But now looks like positions 1, 2, 3, 4. They've been able to get by the 25 with no difficulty. DeLello and Fair looks like they'll have to, whatever differences they have, they may have to work it out. As Fair loses speed out of 2. That's not what he wanted.
No, and there really shouldn't be any differences between DeLello and Fair. Remember, DeLello drives the car Fair owns. So Fair should want DeLello and himself to run 1-2 in this race. Now, what order they're going to be in once they get to 1-2, that's going to be a bit of a question mark. But you see DeLello sending it off down in the turn 1, trying to get a move on Ryan Griffin, but the 0-2 just shuts the door on the 0-8 there.
Not quite sure what is ailing that 0-8 from just making the pass on Ryan Griffin. It's a mystery. Like, he's right there, but I mean, the classic motto goes for that most race fans know: catching him is one thing, passing him is a whole other thing. So DeLello has the art of hanging with the 0-2. He just needs to be bold because the laps are running out. 6 laps to go now, 5 when they come back around.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the momentum, I think, is what he really needs. He needs to get a giant run down, out of turn 4 to make a huge run into turn 1 alongside. He needs to stay alongside the 0-2 if he can get there. That's what I think is hurting him. He's able to get alongside Ryan Griffin occasionally. He just can't make it stick there. And that's what he really needs now that we have 5 laps remaining in this race.
And you got to think Devin Fair, as he goes to the inside of the 0-8, you think the patience level that Devin Fair has, that's probably shrinking. He's probably saying, I mean, come on, Zachary. I mean, you've had your chances. And he's probably deciding that it's going to be his own chance that he may take. Like you mentioned, that they got to decide and figure out what order they're going to attack Ryan Griffin in, as there's 4 laps to go at the line now. I'm sure the single file isn't going to last unless they get some sort of run built up.
Yeah, but for Ryan Griffin, he's just got to manage this. Oh, and DeLello has to burp the gas once again out of 2. That's going to hurt him in the late stages. But for Ryan Griffin, this is going to be such a big deal for him. He's been doing this for a long time. In the lower series, this is his 2nd full season in the Superstar Series, and this is going to be a performance that we're going to talk about for a while if he can hang on for just 3 more laps.
He could go flag to flag. It's been a while since we've had that happen in this series, but Zachary DeLello looks to be the only driver that has any possibility of stopping him from doing just that. Down the back straightaway, down the Nellis back straightaway. Nellis Air Force Base located nearby this track. That's what the back straightaway is named after. Now DeLello just not able to keep up the momentum through 3 and 4. 2 laps to go for the 0-2. Ryan Griffin looking real good.
I think what DeLello's trying to do, he needs to back up to his teammate a little bit, let Ryan Griffin get a little space, and then use the 21's assistance to boost his way towards and make a huge lunge into one of the 2 ends of the racetrack. That's probably going to be his best chance as we come to the white flag this time.
It's crunch time here at Las Vegas. You got to lay all your chips on the table and hope you get a royal flush. Will it be Ryan Griffin or Zachary DeLello? These 2 gamblers, one of them is going to pay off big here at the end of a 1.5 miles from now.
DeLello goes high trying to get some clean air on his nose, but he might have just cost himself a win in doing so. Down the back straightaway for the final time. Ryan Griffin has spent so much time in the lower series honing his craft. 4 wins in the championship in the Turbo Truck Series. 6 wins in the Nitro National Series. 2nd all-time in both of those series. And now, for the first time in his Superstar Series career, it'll be Ryan Griffin going to victory lane at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, leading every single lap in the process.
Spot on performance by Ryan Griffin in that thing, guys. Saitomi Motorsports Ford. And yeah, just absolutely captivating job that he did in that 0-2 car this weekend, winning the pole, leading every single lap along the way, and to get your first win doing so, man, that's bragging rights that you just can't ask any more for. How amazing.
Absolutely, Ryan Griffin, his first career win, and this was a bit of a talking point at Fingai Saitomi. Could Ryan Griffin back up his lower series runs with such performances up in the big game? And he has done that so far with a big win in his first career win. What a fantastic drive! Zachary DeLello brings it home in 2nd, his best result of the year so far. Devin Fair 3rd. He's the only driver with top 10s in all 3 races this season. and the celebrations are just starting already, I'm sure, for the O2 team, Finguy Saitome Motorsports. Ryan Griffin said it himself. He wasn't having that much fun at Daytona, redeemed himself a little bit at Rockingham, but this, I think, is going to take him over the top.
Of course, and even though DeLello or Fair couldn't wrap it up and get the win, or either of the Revolution Racing trio cars, I mean, still, for the point situation, that's also important to keep in mind. Even if they didn't walk away with the dub, I mean, at least, you know, they patted themselves a ton of points today.
Absolutely, well said indeed. But with that being said, from Jesse Turner, from myself as well, thanks for joining us for an epic day at Las Vegas. You looking at victory lane right now, where in just a few moments' time, Ryan Griffin will pull in with the Ally Ford to celebrate his victory, the first of his career, and will he be able to carry that momentum for the rest of this season? We'll find out in a week's time when the series heads to Atlanta Motor Speedway. High, wide, and fast, 3 wide all around. That is going to be a thrill ride at Atlanta, but until we see you down there, congratulations to Ryan Griffin. Led every single lap of the race from the pole, and he is your winner today after a thrilling and dominant drive here out west at Las Vegas.